What if everything you've ever believed about creative genius is quietly misleading you? What if the world's most original thinkers, the ones who reshape our culture and redefine what's possible, aren't fearless visionaries at all, but hesitant, deeply human procrastinators? What if they're not reckless risk-takers, but careful, deliberate calculators of the smallest possible step? We're not merely discussing creativity. We're confronting myths. We're examining the silent architecture of originality. And we're uncovering the 5 counterintuitive, deeply human habits that the world's most original minds lean on, not by accident, but by quiet, persistent design. By the end, you may see your own mind, your own hesitation, your own doubt, through an entirely different, more forgiving, and far more powerful lens. So let's begin with the first habit, the one that contradicts almost every productivity guru on the planet. The habit that feels like a vice, but in the right hands, becomes a supreme virtue. While our culture glorifies speed, decisiveness, the first mover advantage, a deeper truth whispers in the corridors of history. True originals often hesitate. They pause at the threshold of action. They allow ideas to simmer in the quiet dark of the subconscious, like seeds in winter soil. Consider Leonardo da Vinci. 16 years. That's how long the Mona Lisa remained. Not a masterpiece, but a work in progress. A stroke of genius today. Then months, sometimes years of deliberate stillness. He called it non finito, the art of the unfinished. Not as a failure, but as a philosophy. A conversation between the mind and time itself. Why? Because when you rush, you commit to the first idea, the most obvious idea, the idea born of existing patterns. But when you allow an idea to rest in the shadows, something alchemical begins. Your subconscious, that silent partner, starts weaving invisible threads. A problem from your morning walk meets a solution from a forgotten novel. A frustration with a clumsy tool merges with the elegance of a seashell. This is strategic procrastination. It's not avoiding work. It's allowing the deeper work to happen. The result isn't your fastest idea, it's your truest one. The one that surprises even you. So, the next time you feel that pang of guilt for not acting immediately, I invite you to ask a kinder question. Is this avoidance, or is this incubation? Sometimes, the most profound progress is disguised as a pause. But here's the crucial question that arises from this stillness. If original thinkers are so comfortable with delay, how do they ever cross the finish line? What force compels a Da Vinci to finally put down his brush? The answer lies not in confidence, but in its shadow, a sophisticated, redirected form of doubt. Most of us are taught that doubt is the enemy, the saboteur. We direct it inward, like a poison. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Who am I to try? This is self-doubt. It is paralyzing. It whispers that you are the flaw. Original thinkers perform a subtle but profound act of alchemy. They take that same potent energy, the energy of doubt, and they redirect its beam away from the self and onto the idea. This paragraph isn't good enough. This design lacks clarity. This solution doesn't feel true yet. This is idea doubt. And it is not a destroyer. It is the most precise tool in their workshop. Think of them not as proud parents coddling a newborn idea, but as relentless sculptors facing a block of marble. The sculpture is already in there. Their doubt is the chisel. It is the force that chips away everything that is not the true form. This is why they seek criticism early and often. Not for praise, but for pressure. Not for validation, but for verite. They would rather have a trusted colleague dismantle their prototype in the safe confines of a workshop than have the world dismantle it in the public square. So I pose this question to you, right now, in this moment. When you hold a new idea, a new project, a new beginning, what is your instinct? Do you shelter it from the wind, fearing it will break? Or do you take it to the cliff's edge to see if it can learn to fly? Your honest answer to that question is the cornerstone of your creative character. This mindset, the radical separation of self from creation, is what allows them to fail 1,000 times without ever becoming a failure. It transforms criticism into fuel, and it naturally builds the momentum for the next most liberating habit of all. We worship the myth of the flawless first draft, the bolt of lightning, the eureka, that arrives perfect and whole. This is a beautiful fairy tale, and it is a tyranny. The reality of originality is far more democratic, far more forgiving, and far more practical. You must generate a mountain of ordinary stones to find the single hidden gem. Let the numbers speak. Thomas Edison and his team tested over 6,000 filaments for the light bulb. He reframed it not as failure, but as discovery. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Picasso produced over 50,000 artworks in his lifetime. We remember a fraction. The masterpieces were the tip of an iceberg built of practice, play, and perpetual output. The Beatles, before Love Me Do, spent years playing CD clubs in Hamburg, performing for hours on end, building a catalogue of hundreds of songs. Their legendary creativity was forged in the furnace of sheer, relentless quantity. They understood the fundamental, non-negotiable math of the creative mind. Quantity births quality. Your first 10 ideas are echoes of the world around you, recycled, predictable. It is in the 11th, the 50th, the 100th idea that your unique voice finally breaks through the noise. So I grant you, right now, a radical permission slip. Permission to be mediocre. Permission to fill a notebook with terrible poetry. Permission to code a dozen broken prototypes. Permission to write 100 clunky sentences. Do not aim for a masterpiece. Aim for a body of work, because buried in that fertile field of not quite and almost and what if lies the one shining this is it. But this creates a fascinating paradox, doesn't it? If they produce so much that fails, they must be wild, chaotic gamblers, throwing paint at the wall of fate. The truth, as we will see in the next crucial habit, is precisely the opposite. Our culture romanticizes the all-in moment. The entrepreneur who bets the house. The artist who abandons everything for their craft. It makes for a good movie scene. But in the quiet biographies of true originals, you find a different story, one of meticulous, calculated, and patient risk management. Examine the evidence. Steve Wozniak designed the first Apple I and Apple II computers while employed full-time as an engineer at Hewlett-Packard. He only left after the idea had proven itself, after the orders began to come in. Larry Page and Sergey Brin began developing Google's algorithm as a PhD research project at Stanford. They didn't drop out immediately. They used the stability and resources of the university as a launchpad. The founders of YouTube kept their day jobs and worked on their video dating site idea on the side, testing and pivoting until they stumbled upon the broader vision. Original thinkers are not cliff jumpers. They are glider builders. They ask a profoundly different question. What is the smallest, least expensive, most reversible step I can take to test the core assumption of this idea? This is not timidity. It is strategic intelligence. By keeping one foot firmly planted on the solid ground of stability, they grant themselves the psychological safety to be truly, wildly bold with their thinking. The safety net below allows for the high wire act above. So, let's make this practical. Think of the idea that's been circling your mind, the project, the change, the creation. Now ask yourself, what is the absolute smallest experiment I can run in the next 7 days? A single conversation with a potential user? A rough one-page sketch? A fake door test to gauge interest? That tiny, almost insignificant first step is the hallmark of the original mind. It is the signature of someone who builds bridges, step by step, into the fog. And this patient, connective approach leads us to the final, unifying habit, the one that ties all the others together into a coherent worldview. We are addicted to the myth of the lone genius, the solitary figure in the garret, the garage, the isolated lab, struck by a divine spark. It is a seductive story, and it is largely a fiction. True originality is rarely an act of ex nihilo creation, making something from nothing. It is almost always an act of novel connection. It is seeing a pattern in biology and applying it to urban design. It is hearing a rhythm in poetry and letting it structure a software architecture. It is understanding a principle in psychology and using it to build a better team. Original thinkers are intellectual pollinators. They read voraciously, but promiscuously, far outside their field. They cultivate conversations with people whose expertise is orthogonal to their own. They are collectors of fragments, curious about everything, because they never know which fragment will complete a pattern. Their genius is not in pulling rabbits from an empty hat. Their genius is in seeing that the rabbit, the hat, and the magician's gesture belong to three different puzzles, and that combining them solves a problem no one else had even framed. So, if you wish to think originally, do not only dive deeper into your niche. That leads to mastery, yes, but not always to novelty. You must also swim wider. Read a history of medieval farming. Listen to an album in a genre you hate. Take a walk through a part of your city you never visit. Your next breakthrough idea is almost certainly waiting for you at the intersection. Let us now gather these threads. Let us weave the complete tapestry. The original thinker is not a different species. They are simply operating from a different, more nuanced, and deeply human playbook. You now hold this playbook. It is in your hands. Therefore, your mission today is not to become a genius. That is an overwhelming, mythical goal. Your mission is to select one of these 5 habits and practice it with gentle intention for the next 7 days. Will you give yourself permission for one strategic pause? Will you take your next idea and subject it to the clean, sharp edge of idea doubt? Will you commit to generating 10 terrible ideas to find the one good one? Will you design and run one tiny, almost laughably small experiment? Will you consume one piece of content from a field you know nothing about? The choice is yours. The agency is yours. If this exploration has shifted something in your understanding, then do this. Tap the like button. This simple act tells the algorithm that this is a conversation worth extending. Subscribe to this channel, because here we consistently deconstruct the mythology of brilliance and rebuild it as a practical, accessible philosophy of human potential. And before you go, I genuinely want to know. So please, take 5 seconds and type, the habit I will try first is, let's build that community together right here. Thank you for your time, your curiosity, and your own original mind. Until next time, keep thinking differently.